enthusiast. Wish I was playing with you on the courts today, but since we can't be out there, I wanted to talk to you about stretching for pickleball and give you some ideas of stretches you can do for warm up and cool down to help you when you get back out on the courts. So I'm just going to give you some ideas of different types of stretches, and you can develop your own routine and practice that now. And so then when you go back on the courts, you'll be prepared to warm up and cool down like you should. So first of all, I want to talk about dynamic versus static stretching. So dynamic stretching is when you're moving through the movement, and static stretching is when you're holding the stretch for a period of time. So for example, a dynamic stretch for my shoulders might be like this, reaching, moving through the movement. And a static stretch for the shoulder would be more like this, holding the stretch. Okay? So before you do your exercise, it's best to warm up your body, to do an overall warm up. And so you could just simply jog around the courts. But doing this at home, we can, of course, jog in your neighborhood or in your backyard, in your living room if you need to, on your sidewalk, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start by just a simple jog up and back. So I'd recommend you do that for a few minutes. And then, being that there's a lot of lateral movement on the courts in pickleball, a shuffle type exercise is beneficial as well. So turning to the side, I'm just gonna go side to side. Another variation of that is to make it a little more challenging and involve the brain a little bit. So I'm going to cross over as I do that. Okay, so you could do that for a few minutes as well. And then let's try this soldier walk. So this is where I'm going to kick my leg up and reach with my arm, and this will help to dynamically warm up my lower body and really my whole body. So a soldier walk looks like this. All right, so for the dynamic stretches, I like to start from the bottom and move up, and that way I don't leave anything out. So I'll start with my ankles and just simply stand on one foot and do ankle circles. Go both ways. This helps with your balance as well. If balance is an issue, you can have a chair or a banister or something close by. All right, and then after ankles, I'm going to do some squats. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my paddle. It's more fun with a paddle, right? So I'm just going to squat down. So in pickleball, as you know, especially at the net, there's a lot of playing from down in this position. So I'm just practicing that and warming up my lower body muscles at the same time. You want to keep your chest high. You're not hinging at the waist. You're trying to keep your chest high, looking out, looking forward, and just squatting down like you're sitting in a chair. All right, another one is kind of mimicking what you're doing when you're reaching for a dink. So my feet are a little bit wide, but I'm going to step to the side and kind of like a lunge, like a modified lunge. So reaching for the dink, back here. Reaching for the dink, here. Reach for the dink. Okay? And then for my hip, I'm just gonna stand on one foot and rotate out like this, and then back in the opposite direction. So maybe do this 10 or 12 times on each side, opening up the hip joint. All right, and then for my torso, moving up the body, I'm just gonna swing. Just stretching out the whole torso. Letting momentum work for me in this case. Swinging arms side to side. All right, you can do that for 15, 20 repetitions. And then for my shoulders, I'm gonna start with paddle overhead and just slow, reaching up as high as I can, stretching out the shoulders. Again, repeat that for a number of repetitions. And then I'm going to turn my paddle this way and reach in front and then behind. This is a deeper stretch than the other one we just did. Okay? And then simply shrugging is a good exercise too. So lift high, push down as far as I can. Lifting my shoulders up, down as far as I can. Shrugging up and down. All right? And then I'll hold my paddle behind me like this. This is still shoulders we're working on. And I'm pushing my shoulders back and down. And relax, back and down. Relax, back and down. Okay, and repeat that. And those are some just basic dynamic stretches that you can do. Now, after your game, that's when you want to do static stretches. So static stretching, again, I like to start from the bottom and go up so I don't forget anything. So I start with calves. So to stretch my calf, you might want to hold on to something if balance is an issue, or if not, just you can do it anywhere. So I'm stepping back and pressing into that right heel. And I'm holding that stretch. I'm not bouncing, I'm holding it. All right, and then switch to the other one. And you would want to hold these stretches for at least 10 seconds, but ideally longer than that. So don't cheat yourself. Take plenty of time to hold these stretches, okay? And then after calves, we'll go to quads, and you can do this standing or you could do it sitting. So if you want to do it standing, one way to do it, you might want to hold on to something. I have a banister right over here, and I'm just going to lift up, and I'm just pulling my heel towards my bottom. So if I turn to the side, you can see what I'm doing here. If you can let go with one hand, so then you're practicing your balance at the same time, even better. Okay, so I'm stretching the front of my leg here. If I turn to do the other one, reach, I'm going to hold on to the banister to get my balance, hold, and then release. Now if you can't reach your foot, that's okay. You can grab your pants leg and do it like this. And so you don't, if you have trouble stretching that far, you can just do like this, might be a stretch for you. So it's all relative, whatever works best for you. Okay, but that's a good way to stretch the quads. For the hamstrings, you're gonna put one leg out in front and like you're sitting down. So I'm kind of like I'm squatting, but putting my weight on that back foot, and it's stretching my right hamstring. You can do this seated as well. All right, make sure you hold that stretch a good long time and then switch to the other one. I'd like to show you the seated modification of those stretches that I just showed you. So for the quadricep, you're gonna sit with half of your bottom off of a chair like this, and one foot in front, the leg that's off of the chair, you're going to drop down and just try to feel the stretch here in the quad. Now if that's not enough of a stretch, then you can reach for your shoe or your pants or your toe and stretch like this. All right, and then you would switch to the other side and same thing. Can you feel that? You should feel that in the front of your leg and your quadriceps. All right, and then for the hamstring stretch seated, I'm just scooting to the edge of the chair, putting my leg out at front, leaning into that stretch. Feeling the stretch in the back of the extended leg. Hold it. This is static stretch, you're holding it. And then same thing on the other leg. Stretching my left hamstring. Okay, and then for the IT band, this is something that gets really tight on us in pickleball. So you can just cross one leg over the other. And just this might be enough of a stretch for some of you. You'll immediately feel it stretch in this part of your hip. For a deeper stretch, lean forward and press down gently on your knee. And if that's difficult, you can do it with your leg extended, like this. And then as you bring your leg in, you'll feel the tension. Bring it to a place that's a comfortable stretch and hold it there. And then switch and do the other side. All right. For a static stretch for the torso, you need something stationary to hold on to. I have a banister here, and I'm just going to twist and hold. You can just hold onto the back of your chair as well. I just have a stool here, so I have to use something else. So twist and hold. Feel it all through your torso. And then same thing on the other side. Twist and hold. Notice I'm holding one hand on the outside of my leg here, pulling in there and stretching. Okay, now moving on to the chest. So to stretch your chest, you're going to need something stationary, like I like to do it standing at a wall. To stretch your chest out, as I said, you're going to need something static to hold on to. So here I'm using the column in the front of my house, but you could use a door frame in your home, just in a doorway, pressing against the door frame. But I'm going to put my arm here. My arm's at 90-degree angle, and I'm just pressing forward, stretching out that chest muscle. Static stretch, just holding that stretch. And then I would release and then do the other side as well. I hope you'll take the time to practice these exercises, dynamic stretches and static stretches, and get in the habit of doing them now, so that when you go back on the courts, hopefully you will have a routine of your own to stretch before you play and after you play. And I hope you'll encourage your partners to do the same. And if we do that, then it'll decrease our risk of injury on the court and possibly help us to play better as well. Many of us don't want to take time to stretch, and we just want to get out on the court and play right away, and I totally understand that. But now that many of us have time on our hands, this is a good time to practice developing a routine. Speaking of time, I have one other thought I want to share with you. So many of us have more time now than we have in a while. And so I was talking to somebody about this. Both of us were laid off from our jobs, and we were talking about the extra time that we have. And she made a very simple statement. And she said simply, "We finally have time to talk to God again." And that really rang true with me. I tend to be really busy all the time, and I have a mile-long to-do list, and I don't necessarily put God at the top of that list like I should. So that statement, I'm reminded of that throughout my day now. And I'm just taking time to just talk with God throughout the day. And it's really making a difference in how I cope with this pandemic. So I hope you'll do that as well. Take time to talk to God. And I hope to see you back on the court sooner rather than later. And meanwhile, be well.